Let's take a look at a new form factor for the popular Quansheng K5 multi-band ham HT. Colorful radios seem to be a thing these days, and Quansheng is getting in on the action. The Quansheng K5 99 is their latest release of the K5 with multiple color choices being this version's claim to fame. As we get started, welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on a variety of gadgets that catch my eye. Our focus is GMRS, ham, and shortwave listening, but other cool gadgets will sometime pop up from time to time. Please click the thumbs up button if you find this video helpful, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I've reviewed both the K5 and the K5-8 already on this channel. This radio, the K5-99, doesn't seem to be significantly different from the others other than the splash of color on the radio's faceplate. There are several color choices including gray, red, blue, and yellow, and at under $20, it's a solid choice for a semi-disposable take-anywhere radio. As with other K5 models, the third-party firmware that really changes the capabilities of the K5 is available, which makes the K5 models a good choice for those interested in learning more about the ones and zeros aspect of these small radios. One of the things I've been taking more seriously recently is spurious emissions after finding several budget price radios that were miserable in that category. That's not the case with the K5-99. I tested the output on my Tiny SA and found the ham bands meet FCC requirements for the specified frequencies. I'm not sure what you'll find when using the hacked firmware that opens up some of the HF bands. Let's take a quick look at what you'll find in the box. So here's the box that the Quansheng K5-99 comes in. Looks pretty much like the other ones that I have. And so let's take a look at what we find inside. First, of course, is the user's manual. And there's really not a lot to this. There are a lot of features on this radio. And unfortunately, for many of them, scouring the menu information that is included and then using YouTube videos like this one are going to be some of the things you're going to need to do to figure this radio out if you're new to these small kinds of radios. If you're not new, they work the same pretty much as many of the other ones. So to charge the radio, you have two choices. You can choose the charge cradle, which is hardwired. It's not a disconnected cord. And in this case, it's got US plugs. They're available with other attachments here. And then embedded here in the plastic is a little explanation of the charging signals that you're going to get from that little LED. And then, of course, a USB-C charge cable, which you can charge the radio directly from any USB powered device, such as your computer or little wall wart. So those are the charging options for the K5-99. There are a couple of additional accessories that come with the K5. One of them is the belt clip, and this is kind of interesting in that it slides into a little track on the back of the radio that I'll show you here in a minute, as opposed to screwing on. It has a wrist lanyard to keep you from dropping it. Some people really like these, some not so much, but it's available to you on the K5-99 version. And then it comes with this little wired earpiece that you can, put the tab in your ear. You've got a wired push to talk here, which would allow you to keep the radio clipped to your belt and not be quite as obtrusive when you're out and about, if you don't want people listening to some of the things you're listening to here on the radio. So those are the primary accessories that it comes with. So before we get started with the tour, I just want to show you the similarity. This is the UV-K5-8 version. It's got this little hard little metal bezel around the front that makes it different than the original K5. But other than that, pretty similar. It's a little smaller, and when I pick it up, it feels a little lighter. So this is a more lightweight case. It's got colored choices here. I've chosen the blue one for the front of this, which I think makes it look pretty smart. But here you can see, now this one looks a little taller, but it's got the belt clip on, and so that's some of what you're seeing here. The bright orange knob on the on-off at the top is similar to all of these Quansheng radios, as are the primary control buttons that are mounted on the left side. So let's take a more in-depth look at the K599. It comes with an antenna, and the antenna has an SMA connector, as do most of these little radios. The plug or male side is in the radio, and the socket or female side is in the antenna itself. Here's the screen, access menu with the A button or M. Up and down are labeled B and C, and exit is labeled D. The speaker is right here, the microphone is right here, and then you've got the buttons, and they all have some shortcut keys printed on them. So these work a little bit different than some, in that you don't necessarily go into menu and then press 1, but in fact you press the function key down here to press 1 to change bands, function on 2 to go from A to B, function 3 to go from VFO to channel mode, and so forth. So that's a little bit different in terms of controls of the radio than you might expect if you've been using some of these other small radios. As we rotate the radio, we see we've got the push to talk, we've got program 1, program 2 on the side. Here is that rack or track for installing your belt clip, the charge pads for the charging cradle. Over here, we've got the K1 connector for mic and speaker over here. And then this one folds up from the bottom, and this is where your USB-C is. And the charging circuitry, it appears, is in the radio, not in the battery. So you can charge the battery with that USB-C cable directly by plugging it in right here. On the top, we've got the antenna I've talked about already, the flashlight here, the on-off switch here, and volume control, plus a little LED indicator when the radio is receiving, it's green, and when it's transmitting, it's red. So that's a quick power off tour for the radio. Now let's get it turned on and do the power on tour. So here we've got the radio on, and I apologize as we get started that this radio does not have a way to keep the backlight on all the time. And so it's going to flash on and off a little bit. It just is what it does. There are some third-party firmware hacks for this radio that will allow you to keep it on, but the stock firmware runs out at the most 5 seconds. So on the screen, again, let me zoom in here. You can see that I've got F1 labeled there. That's band number 1, and that's the 6-meter band or 55 megahertz. Across the top, there are some icons to include dual watch and the battery icon. You can see L there is the power output set for this particular channel. Down here, you can see that the little triangle shows that the lower register is active. It's band 6, and the frequency is there. And it also is set currently in low power. So let's take a look at the menu. We've got go into the menu, and you can move up and down through the menu using the up and down buttons. Press menu again if you want to make a change. In this case, I'm in wide narrow, and it tells me channel bandwidth, and then I can change it to narrow or to wide. I'm going to keep it at wide, so I'll select wide, confirm, and then I can work my way through the menus. The menu number is down there, and I can use the keypad to go to, in this case, menu 25, which is scan add into scan group 1, and that's on. Menu doesn't stay active very long, but that's fine. But you have an idea now how those work. Now, one of the other things that's important in this radio are the extended menus, and let me show you how to access those. Press to talk, program 1, and then turn it on. And so you can see it comes in with the menu, and now I'm on menu 52. Now these guys are going to allow me to do a number of things, such as lock the various frequencies. I've got a frequency lock choice. I've got it set at FCC, so that'll keep me within the bounds of my license. I can turn on the 350 transmit range. I can turn on the 220 transmit range, so I've got that on since 220 is a ham band here in the US. I've got the 500 band off, 350 off, and then there's this screen on number 57 that I've got on. So that's accessing those additional menus. Normally, you're not going to need them, and so that makes those menus just one extra step to get access to. And when I turn the radio off and back on, those menus are not available. It stops at menu 51. I'm going to hold down the press to talk and turn the radio on. And now you see that I've got the little white light on. That means I have brought the radio into programming mode. So if I'm going to update the firmware, which we'll talk about maybe in another video, you've got to be with the light on to have the firmware updater that's available on the Quansheng download page active. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So that's a quick power on tour of the K599 version. Basically, aside from the color on the bezel and the fact that this is plastic and not metal, making it a little bit lighter weight, it's pretty much the same as the K5-8. I've already mentioned that the K5 passes on signal purity, but let's take a look at the radio's power output.
So let's take a look at the power output for this UV-K5 99. We're going to start with the 6 meter band on high. So here's the 6 meter power. We've got the MFJ 874 set to the 5 watt setting, and so we'll be reading the power output on the low arc. So FM mode, 6 meters on high power. Reads about 3 watts. Here's medium, about 2.5 watts. And here's low. Looks to be about, about 0.4, 0.3 watts on low power on the 6 meter band. So let's go up to 2 meters and see what we get up there. Again, high power, 2 meter band. Got about 3.4 watts on high. On medium, about 2.5 watts on medium. And on low, got about, 2.1, 2.2 watts on low. So that's pretty good. Let's reset the frequency here on the 440 band, and we'll see what we get there. On high power, lower arc, it's about 1.5 watts. On medium power is a little odd, but it's about 2.5 watts. And on low, about 2.3 watts. So for some reason, the high power setting here at 70 centimeters has been ratcheted down. So we've got these power settings on the 70 centimeter band on this little K599.
Here's what the radio sounds like, both receiving and transmitting. Transmit test on the Quansheng K599. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Test out. Receive test on the Quansheng K599. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Test out. Now, as for range, the K599 hits all the same repeaters that my other budget HTs hit. Since my geography is likely different from yours, let's just say that range is typical for radios in this price category. Here are a couple of screenshots from both the Quansheng CPS and Chirp. I'll link a separate CPS video featuring both these programs in the end card to this video for those who want to dive deeper into the CPS options. Let's wrap this up with a couple of closing comments. First, as with the other K5 models in this series, they're solid little HTs. Keep in mind these are budget price radios, so you'll need to adjust your expectations accordingly. Compared to other low-price HTs, these stack up pretty well. The K5 series of radios' claim to fame is their open-source firmware that's available to enhance the features of the standard radio firmware. In some cases, upgrading the firmware is as easy as going to a website with your browser, clicking on the options you want to add to the radio, and clicking Upgrade. There are a number of YouTube videos on doing these firmware updates that also explain how the various hacks differ from one another. Do some research before just jumping on the first one you see. If you enjoy learning about the software that makes these little radios work, the K5 will be a good choice. Things like airband receive, quick frequency copy, and 200 memory channels fill out the feature list. On the downside, the K599 is a bit lighter weight than the K5-8, and I heard some clicking on the speaker when pressing the radio's faceplate buttons. All in all, though, it's typical budget-priced radio, so would make a good choice for the new ham who just got his or her license and doesn't want to spend a lot of money until they learn a little bit more about what's out there. Join me over here where we'll do a deep dive on the K5 CPS options. If you found this video helpful, be sure to click the thumbs up button and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. Thanks for watching, and 73.